Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Please settle down. We can get started. This is the last session of the day, so I'm sure all of us are eagerly looking forward to the session and the end of the session, right? So let me. So what we're going to cover today in the session is the role that technology is playing in the industry. We are going to specifically discuss about the role that AI is going to play. And today we are living in the AI world. Ever since AI happened about 2.5 years back, it's been something that has got a lot of momentum. We say it is the fastest consumer product to reach 100 million consumers in 2 months, right? So that's how AI has been very, very fast to start with and continues to do so. Now, the automotive industry has been, at the forefront of any technology change over the years. So automotive, you all from this industry, you're very well aware that whenever any change has happened in technology, automotive industry has been one of the first to adopt those changes and adapt to things as they go along, right? And this is not new. So we've seen it in terms of when fuels have changed and so on and so forth. So this is also something that we're seeing with AI coming in. We think automotive industry will also have a role to play, and that's what this panel is going to discuss. Before we start the discussion, I just want you to get a quick introduction of the panel. I'll start. I'm moderating this panel. My name is Clifford Petrau. I am a senior partner in IBM, and I look after the data and AI practice for IBM in Asia Pacific. And part of my role is helping organizations in understanding how data and AI can help them in whatever they do. So hopefully I will bring you some experiences of what we work with customers on. I'll go around and ask our panel to quickly introduce themselves. Rohit.
Hi, I'm Rohit from Tata Motors, Rohit Mantri. Good evening. I actually lead transformation programs for Tata Motors across PV, CV, all of Tata Motors. One of the fairly large-scale programs that I have been leading in the recent past has been actually transforming the supply chain maturity for Tata Motors. In fact, digitizing the supply chain end-to-end, apart from bringing in a few aspects of convergence of finance into S&OP and setting up the S&OP process on a end-to-end digitized platform. So that sort of a thing, right?
Thank you. Anand?
Good evening all. I'm Anand Devadar, ex-Tata Motors, currently at Force Motors. I'm a group CEO for Force Motors, Jain Industries and Force Rolls-Royce joint venture.
Thank you. Yes.
Good evening all. I think you can hear me. My name is Shreyas Khan. I take care of supply chain in Mahindra and Mahindra. So it's specific to EV division. So we manufacture battery packs. So we are now into battery packs and all the complexity about the battery pack we are learning. Still, we are practicing supply chain and we are learning about supply chain. Yes, I have experience of 15 years into supply chain by now. So I have worked with automobile and e-com industries so far.
Okay, so I want to kick off this discussion by talking a little bit about AI and what have we seen over the last 2.5 years. When 2023 was the year of experimentation, a lot of organizations started doing tiny pilots using AI to see how AI can have an impact. 2024, and we saw a lot of that happen across various things. 2024, we saw organizations starting to look at, can I scale this and can I get value out of whatever I'm doing? So we saw attempts being made to scale AI to the entire business. Some were successful, some were not, as organizations went in 2024. And 2025 is where we see now that the time is right because organizations have started to address some of those concerns about scaling AI. We're starting to see, and the promise of 2025 is AI will play a much more important role in our organizations in 2025. That's a promise. What is also promising is all analysts have put range of impact, and they think that AI can have an impact of over $4 trillion on the world economy, and therefore that's a significant impact that it can have. Now, as we did the experiments in 2023 and the attempts in 2024, what we saw is that the focus has been on how can I get to that value, and are we really getting to that value or not? Now, we've seen again agentic AI come in this year, where a lot of agentic frameworks have come in. So again, we see a lot of enthusiasm within the industry of trying to say, how do I use these technologies across the board, right? The early stages where we saw the early use cases of AI was in HR, in customer service, in IT, and now we're starting to see more in terms of procurement, manufacturing, even in product development. We're starting to see it across the value chain now that, AI is starting to play a role. But let us start this conversation by asking our panelists as to where do they see the promise of AI? What are the impact that they're seeing AI in their organization, and where exactly do they think that AI will have a role to play? So, Rohit, you want to start off?
All right. So actually, AI, if we talk about AI specifically, what AI actually is doing is it's identifying patterns, right, in data. And based on that, there are several use cases that come in, right? So we are seeing, use cases even in Tata Motors. Basically, we are also, there's a lot of learning and experimentation involved. Use cases related to, pattern recognition, that is, identifying, categorizing data either from, if you're applying something on checking quality, through some sort of, video systems, etc. It says, what is looking good, what is not looking good, etc. Those kind of use cases. Things like automation. Once it identifies a certain pattern, it'll kick off certain, actual actions. So, that kind of automation happens. Prediction, right? In forecasting, in demand forecasting, that is, and demand sensing, things like that. We give a system that AI engine the data of the past month or past series of months, and based on that, in the upcoming months, it's able to make sense that if it sees a certain pattern, it begins to tell you what kind of products will sell, not sell, at what rate, things like that. So those are the kinds of use cases, etc. we are beginning to see. There's a lot of learning involved, right? And I suppose that's the journey. All industries, including Tata Motors and us, we are going through, right?
Just that you mentioned learning, Rohit, one of the very exciting use cases I have seen of AI is what we call as adaptive learning. So what happens is, in the past, whenever we used to have learning, because we train a lot of people in our organizations, when we used to train people in our organization, we used to have a curriculum which is standard, and everyone can go through that standard curriculum. But now what we're seeing happen increasingly is what we're calling as adaptive learning, which means that using AI, you can curate a curriculum depending on your level of skills that is there. And what it really means for the employees of an organization is, if normally something would have taken 4 hours to do, maybe your skill level is such that you require only 2 hours to spend on that. So there's an element of customizing it to individuals that technology is being used. So I think across the board, we're seeing a lot of interesting examples. But thank you, Rohit, for that. Anand, you want to talk about where you're seeing AI in your organization?
So if you talk about general trend in digital, rather IT, so there are 3 trends that are catching up. One is, of course, digital transformation. Second is cyber security, and third is, of course, AI. So when we talk about AI, it's all about input, processing, and output. All depends on data. So when we talk about data, it's all about 4 V's. What is the rate at which my data is coming in? What is my data size? First is velocity, the other is value. The third is veracity, whether the data which is coming is reliable or not. In case the data is not reliable, it will be garbage in and garbage out. And fourth is, I talked about, data velocity, veracity, and the variety of data which I'm going to process. Having said this, my view is that we should not be doing AI only for just since everybody is doing AI. We need to consult all stakeholders, understand their pain points, identify where is the potential for AI, because AI is basically huge resource consuming activity. So when we need to plan it properly before doing any activity on that.
Thank you. Thank you. Shreyas, your thoughts on where do you see applicability of AI?
So AI is applicable almost everywhere. So like we started this session talking about the HR thing where we started with AI, like chatbots are already available. We can send in query, we can get the policies out and everything. But I won't talk much about that, and you must have been a doctor since morning to understand about AI since morning now. The cloud computing, the data processing and ETL and garbage data and everything. So I'll only focus more on the practical examples where you will understand where automobile industry is looking for. What are our ambitions now? Are as in I'm representing automobile industry, not a company only, but as the industry. So like few examples. So for example, if you know the vehicle manufacturing line, how the vehicle comes out of the line. So it's a rolling out, right? So we say rolling out of the vehicle because the vehicle stands on its own wheel and then rolls out. So once the vehicle rolls out, we need to check it for the water leakages. We need to check it for dents, scratches and everything. So first AI, as in it's a use case. That's why very simple example I'm giving. I'll be coming up with many more example also. Okay, so the vehicle rolls out and now we have vision cameras which detects the scratches which are superficial, maybe above the layer, like we say clear coat. Do you know clear coat? It's a color. Above the color, there is one more layer which gives a gloss, which first ruptures and after that your color is deteriorated like that. So there are cameras which can look after these smaller dents, scratches, superficial scratches and everything. So the vision camera helps with that. That is the simplest of the example that AI is in place since 10 years till now. So it's already over there. So now coming back on the example, but now I'll focus more on the battery thing because now we started manufacturing the batteries and almost every automobile industry is into batteries now. So for example, battery manufacturing is not so straight, not so easy because you may think of a battery cell is coming in. You have to just connect it parallel and series. You have to get it into the pack. You have to make it IP67, connect the wire, it's done. Yes, it's done, but not like that. Because we also need to take care of each individual cell. For example, I'll give you example, 150 cells, let's say, these big cells. So such cells comes together and now every cell has a delta voltage. Let's say 3.667 volt, 3.666 volt, like that. So every cell which is coming in has different characteristic, has different impact on the battery pack. So now why I'm telling you this example is because we need a system which tracks all the voltages and call it as a delta voltage in each of the cell, in the vehicle. So once all the cells came together in the vehicle, we need to analyze and we need to balance every cell. Now balancing of the cell also takes a longer time. Longer time, that means 1 delta voltage per 1 hour. If there are 40 delta as in millivolts, and I'm not talking about volt, it's a millivolt. So it's, let's say 4 millivolts, that means you're gone for 4 hours now. So 4 hours, a battery pack will be charged, discharged, balanced and everything. And you have to roll out vehicle after every 5 minutes. So how you can match up with that? So the reason of taking this example is AI can help us sort the cell at the incoming station itself. So when we start manufacturing a module, we start differentiating between cells and we group the cells so that this delta problem gets solved. I'll come up with more examples.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, thank you. So this was about electric vehicle. I'll little more add about the electric vehicle in that is because see, once you manufacture the battery module, let's say it's a cell to module, module to pack. Everybody is aware of that now. So it's a pretty normal business these days. So when a module is produced, the module has to be placed in the battery pack, right? So the module is not only placed or bolted, but it has to be pasted on the battery pack. Now, once I paste it in the battery pack, what about the thermal things which are happening in the battery module? You need to take out the heat which is generated inside the module, right? Because of the chemical reaction, you're taking the charge out, you're charging, you're putting the charge in and everything. So you need to cool down the modules also. You cannot just splash the water. You need to keep it on the cooling plate The cooling plate has the coolants running inside, and then it gets cooled. But now to keep over cooling plate needs a glue, and that glue should be thermal glue. So now the complexity arrives. So now you need to have a glue, you need to have a thermal glue, and it has a settling period. So you must be thinking about how it is related to AI, but this is also a second use case which I'm giving you. So thermal glue has very limited pot life. Pot life as in sealant A, sealant B comes together, it makes a mix, and then it gets solidified. The solidification period when it comes to the normal air or oxygen or the open air is, let's say, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, based on the property, based on the aggression that automobile industry is showing. Because I don't need to wait for 15, 20 minutes because my cycle time is 5 minutes. So why should I wait for 6 minutes, right? Otherwise, I'll be waiting, keep on waiting, and I won't be producing any vehicle. So in our case, our pot life is 5 minutes. If for 1 minute the machine goes down, what happens to the sealant which have already been dispensed? Gone. Already, let's say a battery pack contains 8 modules. I've already placed 7 and the machine goes off. And now 8 module is waiting to be placed. 7 modules are already gone. The cost of the vehicle, 50% is already gone. So this is the problem. So we should understand when to stop in feed, when to stop the process output, and that's how AI is right now helping us, because there are few parameters of the machine. I believe everybody is following. I think a lot of information, I don't know. So the dispensing should be stopped at the particular time based on the parameters of various machine which has resulted the breakdown. So this makes a case, and that case is controlled by AI right now. So we get a trigger that you should stop right now and stop the dispensing because one machine is about to get off because the parameters are shaken up. So this is how beautifully it is helping us. And just to tell you example, in INR, let's say a single battery pack consists of 25,000 rupees worth sealants and glues. 25,000 rupees ka glue, that's all. That's the CII.
That's interesting. So we are seeing some examples there. I wanted to, one of the areas within the automotive industry, which automotive industry has specialized on, perfected over the years, is the area of supply chain, right? It's a complex supply chain and so on. So panelist, Rohit, you want to talk about where do you see the potential of AI in this entire supply chain? Because it's the most complex part of, or I shouldn't say most, one of the most complex parts of the industry.
Yeah, see, AI is one lever that one could use to, implement and, bring changes. I would say that, we have to look at, all the levers provided from the IT suite, right? It could be, integration across various stakeholders, integration across processes, etc., so that all the data comes together. Once data comes together, then you are able to automate something. A lot of activity is we are unable to automate or is manually handled because it's all in pieces. People are sitting in various pockets, and then we are unable to automate because somebody does something, he or she has to pass on that input to somebody else, and then it occurs in sequence. But as soon as we are able to actually integrate use cases and stakeholders actually together, it opens up the possibility of automation. Because now, the system is knowing what is happening everywhere. What 4 departments or 4 functions or 4 systems, 4 processes were doing separately is all happening on a single platform. You're able to automate it. As soon as the automation happens, then you are able to now think about going to the next level, right? Next level is optimization, right? Trying to figure out what might happen in terms of prediction, projection, forecast, right? All those use cases start opening up. When we talk about those cases, now, tools like AI and stuff like that start becoming, start making sense, right? So if we are talking about use cases of AI, after you have done, the layers of bringing the data all the way up, you are able to start using AI at a scale, you can always use AI for small use cases, there's no question, right? But if you have to use it at large scale, then, the data also has to be of that expanse. You are able to bring it up to that level, and then things like demand projection, demand, forecasting, optimization of what we call as demand shaping actions, right? How a company needs to spend, what kind of discounts and what kind of, ad campaigns to shape demand. What is the most optimum, efficient way of doing it? All those use cases open up. When we come on the supply side, optimization of your production in a way which actually suits some variability that is coming from the demand side, as well as certain unexpected constraints which are coming from the supply side. Now, the system is able to actually very quickly respond and correct itself, because you've got all of it integrated, and this AI engine can easily manage it. If there were people involved, all sitting in different places, this would be difficult to do, almost impossible, right? So I should say these are the use cases that kind of, lend themselves when we are talking about AI, as an example.
Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, we've seen some, where in supply chain itself, once you get, I think you have to note what Rohit said, that once you get it to a certain platform where you get the basics and fundamentals in place, AI can then start, adding tremendous value. I think Anand also mentioned about, getting, you don't want to have a garbage in, garbage out kind of a thing. So therefore, you got to get the hygiene in place before you get things out. I wanted to give an example of a car dealership in the US. They automated they used AI in their chatbot, okay, because traditional chatbots work on intents and a knowledge base. So they answer only very specific questions. So if you ask a question in a different manner, your chatbot cannot answer that, right? So that was a challenge. So they used AI, because AI now with natural language can answer all types of permutations and combinations of questions that come in. But the good and the bad, right? The good was now AI was more responsive. The bad thing was someone hacked AI and got them to sell a car for $1. Okay? So the moment the news spread that this dealership, I can go online and buy a car for $1, you can imagine what happened, and they had to bring down the system and so on and so forth, right? Not to mention the bad publicity that the organization got. So there are tremendous risks also involved in AI, because we're in the early days of that, and we've got to also take cognizance of those risks. And one of the questions that I want to ask the panelists now is, what are the risks that you see with AI, and how are you thinking about mitigating these risks? So Anand, you want to start off by...
I'll first share some supply chain examples, and then I'll come to that risk factor as well. So as you know, other people think that vehicle manufacturing is a very easy thing. You just bring the component, assemble them, and produce the vehicle. But things are not that simple, especially for a supply chain guy. So I recollect, every supply chain guy used to wake up early in the morning around 6:30 and start calling suppliers, where is your material, whether my line is covered or not. And there is a joke as well in supply chain that gaadi gate pe. Now the supply chain buyer is also very smart. Then he will ask specifically, kaun se gate pe? Is it at your gate or my gate? Okay. So this way the conversation takes place, and it goes on till night 11 p.m. The supply chain buyer never sleeps, I would rather say. Then with help of AI, I would rather say, I created a supply chain tower wherein I could identify, depending on what my production vehicle is, what is the bill of material, what my consumption pattern is, and how I am covered with respect to my safety stock. And I also identified some critical components. For example, there was critical components, there was semiconductor shortage that were going on, right? So we identified where this semiconductor was getting used and from where we are sourcing this part numbers, and we identified them as critical. And we also ensure that we have a safety stock of say X or Y number of days. So with this critical parts in identified, and inventory, I know what my inventory is depending on the bill of material and vehicle production. Now I could safely rather forecast which all parts are going to go rough and where I need to concentrate on. So now the supply chain buyer has, life has become very easy. He needs to only concentrate on the red parts. Say initially if the count was 1,000 numbers, now he has to concentrate only on the 50 parts and ensure that the line runs smoothly. Second example I would like to share is about guided purchasing. Normally what happens is that in any company there are close to 8 to 10 plants, and every plant, though it's a central purchase, every plant procures their material and we have got different contracts at each plant. Normally what happens for the same part, there are different rates across each plant. So what we did is that with help of AI, we identified which is the most L1 part from where we can source. And with this, we could cut down the cost drastically. So I would rather say there was a difference of X and 2X between two plants, as there was no information flowing between buyers from where he is supposed to procure. Coming to risk factor, most important is the first point which I said, data veracity. I need to first identify whether my data is right or wrong, whether it is usable data or not. We need to have clean data in place. Second thing is we need to be very careful about prompt poisoning. So in AI, this is the most dangerous thing. It's all about how you teach the AI engine, right? And if you have got some prompt injection in there, prompt poisoning in the AI itself, you'll be getting a wrong output and it can be very harmful to you as well. The example which he rightly mentioned. And third is once we have got an AI model in place, we need to have a governance mechanism, regular governance and audit mechanism as well. So we need to keep on auditing and have a check on the AI pattern which we have developed on the regular basis with a team of people across various departments and functions.
When first use of AI started, or Gen AI started coming in 2023s, the first people to use Gen AI were the lowest level in the organizations. When I say lowest levels, I'm talking of senior management, middle management, lower management, right? So lower management started using it first, okay? And 6 months after that, so towards the end of 2023, we started seeing senior management actually wake up, because they realized that they were not giving direction and guidance in terms of how AI is going to be used in organizations, right? And they said that we have to start giving some guidance, because today it is randomly being used by people across the board, and they had no idea who's using AI for what purposes, right? So I think the risk factors can come from multiple places, but I think the governance of that is going to be very critical, because the moment, what we have seen in our studies is the moment you start using more than 10 AI models, 10, okay? As long as you're using 1, 2, 3, it's okay. Moment you go beyond 10 AI models, you have to have a governance mechanism, a robust governance mechanism in place. Otherwise, the risk will really compound. Shreyas, you want to add to risks and how you look at mitigation?
Yeah. I'll talk about risk first, and then also we'll talk about one example. Like it's already mentioned that how the AI is taught or program or design is really a critical factor, and the data is right or wrong, because we are trusting the data and based on that we are developing a model. So now it becomes very critical that data should be right, and the data should be adopting also, as in today's data might not be the exact same data for tomorrow. We may do some refinement, we may learn something new tomorrow, so there should be updates every time. If we lose on update, that means we are restricting ourselves somewhere else. Rather than that, human being were better, because we are learning every day and we are putting it in the place. So that is one thing. Continuous update and improvement is important. Another thing is, I will take an example in a little bit cozy way. So for example, Rahul Dravid everybody knows, Sachin Tendulkar everybody knows, and few more players at that time who are playing cricket, right? So now let's say Dravid is replaced with an AI, or Dravid is AI, Sachin Tendulkar is another AI. Sachin is aggressive batsman, so he scores, he makes the team in the good position, maybe he's left behind by a bowled or something else like that. But Dravid, he is there since first wicket to the last wicket, he is very consistent, he is supportive, he will play with all the players, because his aggression is different, his goal or aim is different for the team versus Sachin's role or aim is different for the team. But ultimately, we need to win. So if AI is developed in Sachin's way, so it's a biased way of aggression versus Dravid's way, it's a subtle way of aggression, right? So this is the difference. Now, why I'm talking about this is, let's say we are getting some AI solution from X company and they are developing that solution. And now me as Mahindra, maybe we have some certain different missions and visions. Maybe the other companies will have different missions and visions. So exact retrofitting or exact fitting of the AI, I don't know whether okay. Anyway, so the implementation of AI should be exact in the way where your organization wants to be. Otherwise, it will divert you by at least a 5 degree or 10 degrees. You never know. After 10, maybe after 2 years, you'll realize that I have come 10 kilometers apart from my drawn line already. So that's important thing which one should consider. So now, again, the flip side of that, not flip, but the opposite side of that. Now, coming to the solutions given by AI. So I worked with Ecom, like I said, and taking you to the example of Amazon now. We were speaking upstairs a few minutes back also. So let's say in any operation of the logistics, the flow is really important. Now, when I say flow, it's from the downstream or upstream that you can figure out. For example, everybody orders parcel from Amazon, maybe hardly anyone who doesn't like Amazon. So everybody orders on Amazon, right? So now, since you place the order, Amazon gets it into the bucket, and then inventory is allocated to various warehouses available in India. So now there is algorithm called buffalo mechanism. It's a word buffalo mechanism. So this logic is run and your inventory is allocated to one warehouse. Okay. Now that warehouse puts the order into a tank, a virtual tank, let's say for the FC, facility center, and then it comes down to the operations of the warehouse, right? So we being operations manager over there used to get the orders fall into our FC so that we can run the business. Because if I get the orders into my warehouse, then I will have more orders coming into my warehouse, so the business will be better. So ultimately, taking care of operation, we were also managing our business of the warehouses, right? So now I was looking after the outbound part, and later I got added for the inbound and outbound both. So I'll tell you the entire story of that now. So once I start taking in order, but I don't process, that means a bubble is created as a pending backlog. Now you as a customer, you already got the commitment that your parcel will be delivered tomorrow, and I'm not processing. So is it good that AI tells you your parcel is not on the way and will not be received by you tomorrow? Will you be happy? No. So now Amazon is actually working on that. It's still committed date tomorrow that I will deliver your package tomorrow, but now we are starting, or Amazon has started finding the ways how it will be delivered. So it will not be delivered is a problem statement now, but how it will be delivered, that is a focus area using AI. Because I'll relate it to the flow. Now the bubble was created as a backlog order. If I don't process it, it will be a backlog. Now AI system will take a call that backlog order should be picked very quickly, and I should get it into in hand so that a packer will pack it, correct? So the basic flow is inventory, backlog, picking, packing, shipping, delivery. So this straight line will have bubble. If I create one bubble, that means a bubble will pass on through all the segments of the supply chain. So AI ka role is only to avoid the bubble in between. So it will redirect your pickers into the process path, so the picking will be faster. And then the pickers will also be assigned with the packing role, definitely a multi-skilled operators. So the pickers will be lesser now and the packers will be more, because that bubble has to be succeeded very quickly. So those people are moving into packing, and then packing goes into the shipping, and your parcel is still on the way at the right time. So this flow manager concept, which I was assigned to for initial 6 months of my professional life in Amazon. So I was a flow manager, but now that role is entirely exchanged by AI, and AI is doing much better as a manager in the flow, because it's a peculiar way, it's a thumb rule that we have to manage every delivery within this time. So this was a positive side of AI, that how you program and how it works.
No, I think just to build on risk, one of the areas where we have done a very successful use case of AI is in customizing commentary. So say, for example, take the same example of a cricket match, right? I missed the cricket match because I was busy somewhere else. Now I want the highlights to be generated. I can have AI generate a highlight packet in whatever time I want, 15-minute highlight, 20-minute highlight, 10-minute highlight, right? It can generate those packages. We have done it in IBM for events such as the US Open and Wimbledon. In tennis, a different sport, but I'm sure it can be done in cricket as well. So, and the second thing that you can do is you can use the voice of whichever commentator you want. You like Sunil Gavaskar, maybe you can get his voice. You like Harsha Bogle, maybe you can get his voice. So, you can choose the person whose voice you want to accompany the commentary as well. So there's a positive side of how you can get better user experience through AI. But the risk and the negative side of the same example that I'm giving you is, I was told that if AI gets 30 seconds of your voice, it is enough to train the AI system to have said anything you want in your voice. And this is where we've seen some of the bad characters use, replication of your voice and call up someone to do some fraud and so on. So that's, again, an element of where a good technology can be put to bad users. But Rohit, do you have any examples of where you think risks are and how are you mitigating that?
No, I think risks, etc., are covered, so nothing much to add.
Yeah. So I just want to, at this point of time, open it up to the audience. If you have any questions for the panel. Yes. Can someone get a mic to the gentleman there? You can also, address it to a specific panelist if you want, or leave it open.
Yeah, hello. My name is Sandeep Mandwal from Reader. My question to Shreyas, like he has given the example of Sachin Tendulkar and Rahul Dravid. So in this case, AI is not creative. If he has a given role of Sachin, he will play the role of Sachin. But human can change, like situation based. If you need the more run short ball, so Rahul Dravid can play the long shots. Similarly, in that line, my question: AI can be creative. He can take his own decision on the basis of the situation. Is it possible?
Yes, it is possible. You called it as agentic AI, who can take their own decisions and can be autonomous also. But the risk involved, which everybody said,
Yeah.
is way more, which we are being seeing on the reels or in shorts or somewhere else, that they are replacing the human being, and now the robots are become zombies and they are eating the human beings and all. So that risk is involved, yes, definitely. But as you said, yes, they can take a decision.
So the way to do that is really through guardrails. You want to put some guardrails in place while you do that, right? So because what happens if AI gives you a wrong answer? Okay, so today, supposing you ask a question to one of your teammates and the person gives you a wrong answer, right? There may or may not be areas where you can verify that, right? But as a human being, because you have multiple ways of doing that, probably you're able to do that. But if you start trusting the system and the system gives you a wrong answer, there's a chance that you may detect it very late into the system. So I think guardrails are very important to be put in place. Then you can manage the AI performance based on some guardrails. Also, we say, in many cases, we say the human should be in the loop, okay? Because it's very risky. Like we saw the car dealer example. We have seen a number of examples where humans are not in the loop and AI has gone rogue. Okay, it happened with one of the logistics companies where the customer was very frustrated. He didn't get his package. He made the logistics companies, the AI say a lot of bad things about the company and so on. So bad press and so on. So a lot of such things can happen if you don't put guardrails in place. So I think you can try to do things, but it's very important to have the right guardrails in place. Yeah?
Okay, thank you.
Any other question from the audience? Do you want the panel to address? Okay. If not, I'm going to go to the next part of the conversation that I want to take this panel into. And that is about, we are hearing about AI. It can do a number of things that may be areas that are repetitive, areas that are manual, areas which human beings can easily train the AI to do. So nature of work is going to change. Maybe in the next few years, we'll see the nature of work going to change. In a study that was done by Gartner, they have said that by the year 2026, and they said it last year, but 2026 I realize is just next year. By the year 2026, they say 100 million human beings, 100 million human beings will work along with an AI assistant. That is, they will perform their work in their day-to-day working life along with an AI assistant. Yeah, and we think that that that's going to happen. So every one of us sitting in this room will actually have an AI assistant to work along with them in whatever they're doing. And that's how we see the future of work happening. But I want to ask our panelists this question around how are you looking at skilling people in your organization? Because obviously the nature of work that they're going to do is going to change. And therefore, what's on top of your mind when you talk or think about people, the skills and the roles that they're going to play? Rohit, you want to?
Yeah, actually, picking up from the point that you mentioned, actually, how we address the people portion in my mind is, taking a cue from what you mentioned, right? What AI is doing is basically becoming an assistant, right? So what you're actually, you should imagine is that you are actually bringing an assistant for a particular function, a job, or something like that. So then what happens is, if you're placing an assistant to someone, what happens to that person? That person's role, we are able to actually elevate or change in a way which the assistant is unable to do or not designed to do, right? So thoughts that come to mind are, I was just mentioning some time back, right? The journey of maturity of any process or something is that, you first ensure that the process is stable, then you automate it, and then you start optimizing it. When you start talking about optimization and things like that, we are talking about bringing an AI solution in, which will start doing work also at that end. When that is happening, the people who are in that space, we are now able to actually elevate to, I should say, the next level of activity that is happening, which could be, right now, if there is a set of people which are focused a lot on execution, that's here and now, we can start seeing how the set of people are able to do actually that work. They've got the experience of what happens on the execution side, but apply it to, I should say, planning side, right? The next horizon, the forward horizon, right? Instead of engaging in the here and now activity, you start focusing on the prediction side of things, how to ensure that issues, etc., do not occur before the execution actually begins. Execution is being taken care of by an AI automation agent. So your assistant will take care of your execution. You take care of future forecasted problems, future, right? You're going into a space which the AI is not going to be there. Similarly, the I should say, nature, the dimension in which the activity is happening can slightly shift, right? When we are talking about automation, etc., immediately what comes to mind is efficiency, cost, and things like that. So if you're automating something and there's an AI system which is actually working very efficiently, cost is being taken care of, no problem. What is not being taken care of is quality, right? Or the fit of what you're doing to demand and stuff like that. Is that being adequately taken care of? If not, then the people who are actually now having the benefit, I would say, of an AI agent taking care of regular work, they are able to move into spaces which are currently they are unable to spare time on, right? So there's a bit of creativity involved. We have to actually think about what is the next level, higher level goal, higher level objective. The entire organization now is moving up because the more, I should say, routine tasks are being automated. So you are able to actually move the organization one by one, a notch up. And given that the people who are in that space are actually experienced folks in that space, I mean, that is an opportunity. I mean, because they are having the knowledge of that. You need to reskill them in an area where they can utilize that, experience and talk about dimensions which were not currently being adequately covered, right?
I think it's very important. I will give you a real life example of our organization. One of the first areas where we used AI is in HR services. what does HR services do? They respond to all HR queries that come in from employees, right? Employees may ask about leave balance, may ask about policies, may ask about this, various things. So there were a bunch of people. We're a global organization operating out of 180 countries. So there's a centralized shared service where all these HR employees sit and do work. And we use these employees to train AI because they knew the work the best. So they were the best people to train AI into doing whatever they're doing. And the promise to them was that we will train you into doing something else, right? So just to give you an example, 90% of those people, okay, we did not need 90% of those people after AI was implemented. So we had a team size of 700 people globally. That 700 people reduced by 90%. Yeah. So all of those people who actually helped train AI, they did a fantastic job. AI started answering 94% of the questions that employees had now, but they were trained into doing something else. So, they were able to train AI in the right manner with the right kind of, right perspectives. Because if that hadn't happened, if there was always a concern around job loss and I'm going to lose my job, and therefore if AI gets better than me, I won't have a job, they would never do a good job of training AI, right? So I think somewhere it is also a human element of assuring the organization that whatever the nature of shift that happens in the nature of work, we're going to be there to help you, navigate to the next level, as Rohit mentioned, right? But Anand and Shreyas, I mean, your perspectives on the people element, which is such a big element of organizations.
Well, Rohit had covered most of the things. I would add to that. So most humans are designed for value addition, right? So going forward, I think whatever the repetitive tasks, transactional activity are there, they are going to get replaced with AI. Even the programming part. So programming part, when I'm saying any program which the developer is writing, say L1, L2 level programming, is going to get taken care of by AI. Having said this, we need to upskill ourselves to ensure that we cover most of the things. Means we need to shift now to a L3 level developer so that I can handle L1 and L2 level jobs as well, in addition to what I'm doing currently. Going to the training aspect, what we are doing is that we are tied up with multiple institutes for technical trainings for our team to ensure that team is updated with latest technology and AI as well.
Shreyas,
So I'll put some focus on what we are again doing and what is the way forward of that. So let's say how we are replacing AI with human efforts. I will say human efforts, not the human being exactly. So I strongly agree with what Jesse said, that it's a value addition. Human being adds the value. And for me, AI removes the non-value added activity at first place. Definitely it also adds the value. But for me, the AI is non-value added activity remover versus the human being is value adder. So it's okay. So that's a baseline. So with this tone, now I'll talk about one thing which is going on. So in today's compliance and era and the equality and everything, so we are inclusive, definitely. When I say inclusive, is equal rights for all the genders I said. So when we were designing our production line, so now we are into battery manufacturing, but now we have also to think about the future aspects of that. So when we are building our manufacturing line, it should be compatible for all heights and all the strength of the body. Let's say a guy working on that versus a girl working on the same station will make some difference, because we need to be considerate on the height or the reachability to the part or the placement of the stations and everything, right? So we need to add up some heights. We should think of stepping down, stepping up multiple times while assembling the part, because we are doing it 150 numbers in a day, maybe 500 numbers a day, everything like that. So we install a camera. That camera, we are thinking, we have not installed it yet. So we are thinking of a camera that is installed at the station, and then it start looking at the posture of the person working over there. So we can deploy a person with average height, which is 5.6 inches for India, average height. So we started studying with this, And then we also deploy a female associate doing the same thing. And we can understand the fatigue getting generated after, let's say, 50 repetitions or 100 repetitions like that. So the AI is suggesting exactly at this time or at this operation, the person is not feeling right or well or as fit as he was or she was at the beginning. So that is something which is a generated data for us, and we started taking this into consideration when we were developing a line. So now new lines are coming in with this understanding that we are inclusive to all the body types, let's say. So you can even visit our manufacturing line, and even it is on the social media when we launched our B6 and B9. So it is on the social media. So you can see the manufacturing line and a lot of female associates working over there. So it's the output, let's say 20% so far with AI, and now we will be adopting that in future as well.
Yeah, I think, I just wanted to just so that you don't get the sense that AI can only do dull and boring work, I also wanted to give you some examples of where AI can do very exciting work as well, right? So one of the examples that we worked with one of the companies in Switzerland is they wanted to eliminate food wastage, okay? Now, I don't know how much of food wastage is there in Switzerland. I know in India it is a lot more. But what happened is they used AI to look at what's in your fridge, okay? And based on what's in your fridge, okay, AI actually generates, you can select whether I want breakfast, lunch or dinner. You can select that I want a light snack or a heavy snack, and it can actually make a recipe and tell you that this is the recipe that you can make from what's in your fridge. Okay, and whatever the items that you don't have, because obviously you won't have all the items required in your fridge, it actually creates an order, sends it to the e-commerce store, and that order can get shipped and delivered to you. Okay, so this is a prototype of an example where the company started with the premise that I want to reduce waste that we see our customers having, and actually they used AI to do this entire chain, right from creating a recipe to then, selecting the items, creating the buy list, sending the order to the e-commerce site and getting the order delivered to the home of the person, right? So that's one interesting example that is there. Another interesting example I can think of is we were doing this work with the Hong Kong Jockey Club. Okay, as the name suggests, it's in Hong Kong. Now the problem that things like Jockey Club and casinos and so on have is the young people don't go there. Okay, and they have a problem. They're not being able to attract the next generation. Okay, so they wanted to make it more interesting and more exciting for the next generation to come in. And one of the things that we did is we started using AI, and AI can help in the kiosks in terms of comparing two horses or comparing the jockey and the horse that's racing, and give them very insightful examples of how do the two horses compare with each other. In terms of their strength, in terms of their endurance, in terms of whatever, and so on. So they've used one of the lounges in the Jockey Club to kind of create a new experience zone. And they're using AI not only on the day of the race, but they're using AI pre-race, on the day of the race, and post-race as well to create an entire experience zone so that younger people can come back into the Jockey Club, right? So that's another example where I can think where AI is trying to do something which is, it's just not only the repetitive, routine work. And a third example I'll give you is that of a beauty cosmetics company called L'Oreal. L'Oreal started with the objective of saying, I want my products to be more sustainable. So what we are doing, we are working with L'Oreal in helping them create their own foundation model. So the foundation model, of course, we are helping them with the technology elements of that, but the things like recipes and so on are being put in by L'Oreal themselves. And what AI is going to do is help them select materials which can give them the same effects, which is more sustainable than what they're using today, right? So the starting point is, can I use AI to help me with more sustainable material? But going forward, AI will also help them in new product development, because obviously you'll start discovering newer and newer materials that can be used. So we're seeing examples. I spoke about the Wimbledon example. Another example which is interesting in my mind is how do you handle high net worth individuals? Yeah. So HNIs, or high net worth individuals, are people who wealth managers go after to help them, invest their money. And what they do is these wealth managers come out with some reports, which is maybe 2 pages, 3 pages. Maybe they have a report on cryptocurrency. They'll have a report on, derivatives in the US or whatever it is, right? and they will circulate this to HNIs. Now they found out that the HNIs don't have time to read these reports, right? So what they use AI to do is to convert this into an audio file, right? So it runs a transcript, converts it to an audio file, and they found that most of the HNIs, when they go on their morning walk, they listen to this and get the insights that they really want to. So there's some unique ways in which we can think about new ways in which we can experiment and use AI for that, right? I just wanted to, before I ask the last question to the audience here, to the panelists here, I wanted to check if the audience has any questions that you want for the panelists.
Clifford, I'm amazed at what amongst the three examples that you gave, you've given one example where you are actually, all right, so let me not go there because you're making young people come into casinos, so that's kind of ethically questionable. But let me come to the other example which you gave about, the refrigerator, the quantity of material available in the refrigerator and being able to order stuff which is required for creating a recipe and bringing in exactly the kind of quantity required for a recipe to be made, for a dish to be made,
Yeah.
and hence, in your words, hence trying to avoid waste. But in another perspective, by reducing the quantity of recipe items being shipped to that minimal an amount, you're basically having a reciprocative effect on sustainability, because you've actually reduced the quantity to such a level that for each meal you're getting a different delivery cycle to run.
Yeah.
So effectively what you could have achieved by, say, 3 days worth equivalent of inventory having got purchased, now you're servicing it 6 times over the period of 3 days.
Right.
Effectively, the carbon footprint of that order, is it then setting off the requirement of being able to get merely that much dish, because ultimately it is going to go into a refrigerator.
Right. Yeah. So no, it's a very important point that you raised, and I think that this was a prototype that was done. As I told you, it was not a. It didn't. I don't think it rolled out completely. The reason why they did this is to see how AI can play a role in something. You start with an objective, and how can AI play a role? Now, it may not be. It may not be really relevant for individual households, yeah, but it could be relevant for motels, or it could be relevant for some other places. So I mean, the power of AI is because you're not using a single model for a single task. You're using a series of models, doing various series of tasks, and you're getting to an outcome that you want, right? So the possibilities, and today when we talk about agentic frameworks coming in and so on, the possibilities are that we cannot stop by thinking about one model doing one task, or automating and eliminating one task that a human being is doing. But think of a scenario where there are multiple tasks being done by multiple agents, and you're changing the way things work. Let me give you an example of contracting. Yeah. Today, when we look at contracting, or say I'm sending out an RFP, I'm getting responses from an RFP, I'm compiling them, I'm evaluating them, I'm choosing a particular vendor. There's a series of steps that happen, and every procurement organization of every organization does this, right? Now, this entire series of activities can be assisted and enabled through various AI things, right? Right from RFP generation itself in the first place, to the comparison of the responses that you've got, to collation of, to evaluation, to really, identifying what you need to tweak, to negotiations, parameters that you want to do, and to contracting as well, right? Now, this entire thing can be enabled, and we have done a simulation of saying that if we are able to do this entire thing, you can actually save 30 to 40% of the effort in that entire process without compromising on cost. I'm saying compromising, but it could probably be even better, because what we have been able to do is we've been able to show organizations that sometimes the adherence to the contract is not there. So a buyer has actually said that I should get about a certain amount of discount because I have supplied you X volume. But when you go back and check in the system, that discount is not applicable, right? Now, these things you can do in real time because of AI, right? So I think while there are different considerations that you have to take into account, but I thought this was an example where you're using multiple models to really create an end impact, which could be really powerful.
May I follow through another question? A completely different tangent. and this is something I'm talking out of experience. Quite often, in recent discussions, we felt things are being, or some processes are being panned out as AI, driven or AI influenced. But quite often, these have been done for, I think, for years and years together, basically on an algorithmic operation. So there are various processes which basically get done, as an algorithmic turnout of if this, then that.
Right.
However, quite often now I've seen the same things is being panned out in a different, garb of being AI driven. And I give just one example, which amazes me, is, for the last 20 years, we've been using technologies like MICR and OCR, which is fundamentally a reading technology.
Yeah.
And I've now seen operations being, panned out saying that this is an AI-driven operation, whereas there's nothing such. So to be able to differentiate is what is AI, genuinely AI operation, and what is an algorithmic, fallout of a process. If you can throw some light as to how do you differentiate these two?
I think what I tell most of my clients is don't get too bogged down by whether this is traditional AI, Gen AI, agentic AI. It doesn't really matter. The problem is, are you solving the problem that you want to address, or even automation? Because Rohit mentioned automation earlier as well, right? They're all technologies to help you solve a problem, right? But let me give you an example of where AI can play a role. I was talking with one of my teammates on something like a KYC for onboarding, right? So you take an example of KYC, you have a new customer, you want to KYC that customer. In India, there are certain documents which are standard, like for example, Aadhaar, right? You have Aadhaar which is standard, so it can be a pickup through the traditional systems that you can pick up this information from. A PAN is standard, so you can pick it up. But there are many documents which are not standard because they vary by states. Driver's license, for example, could vary by state. Some other documents could vary by state. Now, they have never been automated because it's part of the long tail of things. It's easy to do an Aadhaar, it's easy to do a PAN because I do once, everything is the same. But try doing something like a birth certificate, which could vary from place to place and location to location and so on, right? But now with AI coming in, that is also possible, right? So what we keep telling our clients is, whether you're using traditional AI, where you're using predictive models and modeling, and there you have to control model drift and so on, or whether you're using Gen AI, or where it's generating certain things, or you're using agentic frameworks, you pick and choose the right technology for the right problem statement. But your end objective should be, am I solving the problem or not, right? You guys want to add on to that?
Yeah,
I
I'll
agree with that. So basically, AI is a query. So earlier also you're doing the same thing. Now it's a bit more intelligent query, I would say.
Yeah, actually, in my mind, and Cliff, you could, correct me if my understanding is slightly off. Between traditional working, right, or IT systems and, in quotes, AI, what I see as the difference is the traditional systems actually were looking at deterministic input, right? We are saying that if, you mentioned about, reading pages, right? If a particular alphabet A had, that cross thing missing, then a traditional system would not recognize it because it is not matching 100% with what an A looks like, right? So it will say, I don't know, and it skips that page and goes forward. While AI is actually attributing a percentage, right? It says that, oh, this thing is not a traditional A, it's not it, but there's a 70% chance that it could be A because it looks like one. It's like how we would read it, right? And if it's a smarter AI, it will say, okay, I'm making sense of the word as well, so it definitely is A. Now it has become 95%, 98% A. So its readability has gone up that level, right? So between traditional systems and AI, that is the difference. The AI is actually working on probabilities, so its accuracy and its capability of working with diffuse information, not so great information, etc., becomes much higher as compared to a traditional system.
Anyone of you want to add anything?
Yeah, I'll add in this. So the percentage, like you said, so let's say 70%, 80%. So think of an example, which is I'm giving you right now. So think about yourself that you are a maintenance manager or a maintenance guy who's taking care of the shift. And now you arrived at the machine, and now being a maintenance guy, you know about the machine, but now you don't have to think much about the machine and you don't have to scratch your head because you may not be specialized in this line, but that line. Let's say you are a specialist of machining or HMCs or VNCs, but now you're looking at lathe machine, which is way older. So think about example. You clicked a picture from your tab because you were working with a tab, and you click a picture of the machine, and now all the data related to that machine is fetched out because there was a database for the company about that machine, and you just click a picture, everything comes out. So like a Matrix movie or something like that, Spider-Man or Iron Man, who can look everything from its helmet, like heads-up display and everything. So that tab starts showing you about the machine, all the info. What are the spare parts? This is the potential cause, or this is the potential reason of machine going off. And if this is the reason, you just check it, you just touch it. If you touch it, there are list of spare parts which are already available, or potential spare parts which may be required for this machine. And then you can quickly select, tuck, 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 okay, done. And this order is confirmed in the stores because we take care of the store, I take care of the stores for our company. So that's what it happens. Example, the maintenance guy goes and clicks a picture. He immediately gets the potential spare part list. At the same time, I get a soft pick list. You understand? This is a soft pick list that this order may come to you and you have to save on the time. So this is kind of 911 call for us that we are ready to pick these parts. I am not picking, but I am deploying a person to pick those parts already. The person is waiting. And if he confirms any 4 or 3 or 2 or 1 part out of that, a person directly runs, get the part, issues. That's all. It's a game of a minute. So that's the importance, and that's how on the percentage basis we are working. Because after clicking a picture, what is the probability that problem is this? So it is giving you an example or options, let's say. Not example, but options. So let's say any 3 options are matching, that means 75% is matching out of 4 problems. So this is how is already there.
Okay. I'm going to pose a last question to the panel, but before I do that, I just wanted you to, one of the learnings that we've had by doing AI across the world with large number of companies is that there are 6 considerations that you need to take into account, and I thought I should share it with all of you all, right? The first consideration is, when you look at AI, you should think that it is a multi-model solution. It's not one model that will solve all your problems. There are multi-models. Now we are moving towards, from large language models, we are also moving towards small language models because they are more, to your point, it is more sustainable from an energy perspective. It's also more cheaper, more faster, and so on and so forth, right? So one is, there could be different models for different things. It's not a one-size-fits-all. Today, there are 1 million models in AI, so obviously, there's a choice there. But different models are meant for different things. Some of them are, the large language models, of course, can do a lot of things, but they are specialists in various areas. Anand mentioned that, there's a specialist that do specifically coding. There's specialists that can do specific areas of, of quality or testing and so on and so forth. So there are models that are coming up which are very, very specialized, right? So number one consideration, multi-model. It's not a single model. Second is multi-cloud. Now today with data residency, data security issues, the DPDP Act coming in and so on, there's some information you may allow to go out of your organization, some information you may not want to allow to go out of your organization, right? So it may be restricted by regulations or may not be restricted by regulations, but purely from an IP perspective, you might be a little wary. So again, it's multi-cloud. Some of it could sit in your premise, some of it could sit on public cloud, some of it could sit on private cloud. So think about deployment options could also vary. That's number 2. Number 3, I think we have spoken about governance. It's very, very critical. You have to have the right governance. And by governance, I don't mean only a technology helping you govern, but also the right processes and the right operating model within an organization to be able to govern who's using AI, how are they using AI, are they using models that I'm okay with, and so on and so forth, right? So a lot of things around governance. The fourth thing is about data, and I think Anand mentioned this, that, if you don't have the right data or the data discipline, then you probably are not feeding the right information to AI. So again, data becomes very important, number 4. Number 5 is skill. Okay, again, people, where organizations are getting held back is because they don't have the right skill, or they don't have the confidence that they have the right skills to progress aggressively on AI, on the use of AI, right? So that's it. And the fourth is around ROI, achieving scale, achieving ROI, and achieving value. Because you can use AI for a lot of things. The example of the refrigerator being one of them. But at the end of the day, if it is not going to give you ROI, then you would better put your time and effort into other things that will give you an ROI, right? So again, I think that's another consideration. So across the various work that you've done, we've seen these 6 considerations that are becoming important for organizations as they embark on the AI journey. The question I want to ask our panelists and probably end this conversation is, if you have to go to your top management and ask for and recommend to them the 3 things that the organization needs to do to leverage the power of AI, what would those 3 things be? Yeah? Shreyas, you want to start? This time I'm going the other way around.
We have certain examples to deploy AI into. One is very basic. I'll leave the complex one for. Okay, so one very basic thing we want to deploy is, let's say, more over into logistics. So we take logistics for granted so far. In the first session, somebody told that logistics or supply chain were never a part of a board meeting, but now people started calling them into the board meetings now. So even the supply chain, the last link is logistics and the last mile delivery and everything. So it comes to the truck. Now, a big company in logistics says making logistics human. So this is the phrase for them, like Revvigo. I can reveal the name, and now MLL is owner of that, Mahindra Logistics Limited. So Revvigo has that statement. So making logistics human is what? You have to take care of the driver very first. Logistics is drivers, because we are the end users. We are still a customer. So we are getting a good service because somebody is sweating out. So so when a vehicle docks on the dock at the manufacturing plant or any warehouse or somewhere, so vehicle docks at the dock, which comes up and down to adjust the height of the deck with the building height. So when a truck comes back, there must be a helper of a driver who also walks back and see whether his truck is docked well or not. Arey aage lo, piche lo, left and right, aane do. So this kind of words we keep on hearing. So there was incidences globally. I'm not mentioning only about India. So a driver is coming. So it's harsh, but yes, a person who helps the driver who takes it back was standing behind, and the air pressure for the brakes was not enough or adequate. The truck driver could not brake it, could not stop it, and he literally, you understand, right? So he lost his life. So this is not one example, this is not one case. So these are such cases which keeps on happening. So somewhere it comes back, somewhere it goes forward, because it depends on the dock architecture or the civil work which has happened. So one thing he gave me chance to talk about is we are already working along with GET, by the way. That's why I'm saying it's a small, but it's really smart, because it's an idea came out of a GET's mind. So he's just 6 months old in the organization, and he has come up with this thing because he was first to step into the logistic by chance. So what we are developing is, there is again a camera, very simple solution, but camera can detect any object which is live. Now, live, that means moving on its own. A leaf is moving on its own, may be detected as a live substance over there, but we can teach the system in a deeper manner. Okay, so there should not be any animal moving out. There are very less chances that inside the factory the animal is moving, very rare chances. So it is now about the human being. If a human being is walking in the bay, the truck will see the signal in front of that, who cannot see behind, but who can see in front, the signal is blinking. But now what happens if the driver is looking back and signal is in front of him? No use, right? So at the same time, if that is happening, it still allows truck to come back because it is not connected to the system. Now truck is coming back, but still the camera detects that there is someone. Then there is a mechanical flapper which is there located, let's say 4 meters from the dock wall, but still the truck has not come back. So if you can imagine, there are trucks on your table also, right? So if you look at the rear wheels and the last edge of the truck, that is the overhang it has, right? So that is never more than 4 meters. Never more than 4 meters for normal vehicles. Special vehicles, there might be. So we have created that 4 meters length, and if a driver is not stopping, there are sensor which is sensing the truck is coming back, there is a human being or lively thing which is moving in the bay, so the mechanical flapper comes up. It works hydraulically, no pneumatic. Itna power nahi hai pneumatic mein ki truck ko rok jaye. So it comes up, and at least 10 or 12 kilometer per hour truck can hit that barrier and it still can stop it. And then it will also buzzer out, it will do many more things and such things. So this is a POCA UK that we are planning and deploying also. So it's kind of a thing that we are registering with authorities. So yeah, this is the solution we are looking at. So it's AI, but it's just a vision AI that we can put into the place. Exactly same, you can save the security's miserable life also. A security is standing in the sun for 24 hours, let's say 12 hours, and doing nothing, only be vigilant. So the camera can exactly do the same. He just need to detect a human activity is happening over there. So anybody is attempting to theft or something like that. So it's kind of a thing that we are deploying. Yeah.
I would say 3 core areas. One is sales and marketing, second is supply chain and purchasing, and third is lastly the manufacturing activity.
Thank you. Rohit.
Right. Actually, I won't go by the use cases of AI. It's infinite. It's actually limited only by one's imagination. I would submit that, all of us, why just seniors or anything, right? We should look at, now what is happening is we've got IT platforms, tools, systems, etc., becoming more powerful on one hand, and more reachable on the other hand. Reachable for individuals, reachable for companies, etc. Reachable in terms of cost, ease, etc., etc. I don't think, people in general and decision makers have really realized the power that is now latently available in that space, right? So, you can do phenomenal things with what is already available, probably what is already available inside the company as well. We are not using it well enough. So I would urge that, all these things, AI, systems, platforms, you name it, all of it, to be looked at in terms of, transforming the company, transforming oneself, looking at people, process, as well as platform, system, AI, whatnot, etc., all together to actually, discover the next plane, right? What is typically happening in traditional companies is that startups come from somewhere, and because they are startups, because they are smart, etc., they are now using technology, etc., and landing up at a different plane. It's just that they are starting off, so the biggies quickly learn from them and try and catch up. But you don't need to wait for an example to be set before defining your own path. So my point is, look at it more holistically rather than just as some use case of AI or system or platform, etc.
Okay, good advice. Thank you, Rohit. I just want to end by this entire panel by saying that about 7 years back, I was having a conversation with the CEO of one of the logistics companies. And I said, imagine that your organization was being set up today. Okay, what would you do from a mobile perspective? Because that's when mobile was really hot. And they said a lot of things I would do on mobile today, I would not do through traditional systems, because we are doing it in traditional systems because the organization was set up many years back, and we're following that process. And today I would ask all of you all to really reimagine that if your organization or your process, your department, your function was being set up today, how would you run it in an AI world, right? Because that's reimagining without the constraints that you currently have. And that's when probably you can look at what can be unlocked. And obviously then the path you choose can depend upon what is most relevant for your organization then, right? So I hope this has been a helpful conversation, drawing on the panelist experience that we've had. Thank you all very much. And, hope you have a good, and maybe next year, if we are on the same panel, we could probably talk about how things are very different from what we spoke about last year. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.